Welcome to today's Biz News briefing. I'm Bronwyn Nielsen. Here are the stories making top headlines in South Africa and around the world. Tensions boil over in Johannesburg's Westbury neighborhood as residents protest an 8-year water crisis. South Africa's parliament is hitting pause on hearing key testimony in a high-profile police probe. In the US, conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot dead while speaking at Utah Valley University. Israel's attack against Hamas in Qatar draws rare public criticism from Trump, and Rassie Erasmus says the Springboks are ready for Saturday's game against the All Blacks in Wellington. Residents of Westbury in Johannesburg took to the streets yesterday, protesting a prolonged water shortage that has affected the area for 8 years. While demonstrators intended for the protest to remain peaceful, tensions escalated as police fired rubber bullets to disperse the crowds. The community continues to call for consistent water supply, and the situation remains tense. Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi spoke to the SABC. Let's take a listen.
That is why we're arguing very strongly for the review of funding model for local authorities by national and central governments. It's a debate that is there. That is why we are of the strong view that there must be some form of regulation and control. Me and you can afford to pay electricity. We no longer take electricity for the main grid. We have put our own solar system. That affects municipalities. So it's not only the poor only, even the rich are deserting municipalities, and municipalities therefore are left to fend on their own, which is extremely difficult. So we have to create jobs, we have to grow the economy, we have to create opportunities. That's the only way, because if we don't do that, the situation that you see in the west of our city or in Ebony Park, they'll continue to be on our screens, because these are realities that confront our people. People want, when they open the tap, there must be water. Whether they're employed or unemployed, they want water. Whereas we have to confront people that are vandalizing our system, destroying our system, and most unfortunate, openly stealing water illegally and creating problems for municipalities.
In Parliament, the ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkwanazi will only hear oral evidence from Mkwanazi in late September or early October. This is due to his upcoming testimony before the Madlanga Judicial Commission of Inquiry, scheduled for September the 17th. The committee met yesterday to receive a progress report and discuss the availability of witnesses. Evidence leader advocate Norman Arendse says this is going to be a long process.
We are different from the commission. The commission may or may not finish their work by the end of the year. The commission must then still report to the president. He is obviously not obliged to act on the report. In the meantime, Parliament, in terms of its own, in terms of the separation of powers, has its own work to do, its own oversight role to play, holding the executive accountable.
Meanwhile, ad hoc committee member and DA parliamentary member advocate Glynis Breytenbach put forward an argument for proceeding with interviews of other witnesses rather than delaying the committee's work.
Chairperson, with regards to the order in which we call witnesses, I fully understand the desire to call Mkwanazi first, and that would be the ideal situation because the thing starts with him. But it's not essential, Chairperson. It's only ideal. If we can't have him and we start with somebody else, we know what he's going to say. He's going to say what he said at the press conference. If he says anything different to that, that's problematic. So it's not as if we're working in the dark. We know what he's going to come and say. And so while it is ideal to start with him, if it means that we're going to be held up for weeks and months, then I would suggest that we forego that ideal situation and start with someone else. Because we can't keep on postponing and postponing and postponing. We're going to already have to ask for an extension as it is. If we don't get started before late October or November, that's going to be a real problem. I'm happy to work, as I've said before, on public holidays, on weekends. That's not an issue. You may find that other people are not so happy to work. So bearing in mind that we have a job to do and we need to get it done, we may have to reconsider the order in which we call witnesses. Thank you, Chair.
In the United States, conservative activist and Trump ally Charlie Kirk was shot dead at an event at Utah Valley University. Kirk was invited by a student group and was speaking when a shot was fired from a campus building approximately 200 yards away. President Trump took to his Truth Social platform to address the nation.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country.
Hermanus is a man from this windy little town called Yaku. Sorry, other way around. Yaku's from Hermanus. Yaku, we need to talk about your upgrade problem.
I don't have an upgrade problem.
2 Audis, an Opel, a Kia, and a Hyundai. It's 5 cars, Yaku. Denial.
I just love cars. And we buy cars that make it so much easier for you and convenient to sell your car. You want to try it?
Okay, just once. Turn off the cameras. I see how this is addictive. Take 2 of those. We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Israel's recent attack against Hamas leaders in Doha, Qatar, has drawn rare public criticism from US President Donald Trump. Trump stated that he was informed of the attack too late to intervene, with US officials notifying Qatar as the bombs were already falling. The strike marks an escalation in tensions between Israel and Arab nations over the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Bloomberg's Dan Williams provides further details.
A rebuke of sorts coming through from President Trump there. The White House to release a full statement later today on the developments in Qatar. Let's go to Jerusalem now and speak to Bloomberg's Dan Williams. An unprecedented attack, very strong words coming through from the Qatari Prime Minister late last night. He called it an attack of state terror. Dan, what has been the reaction specifically within Israel, especially the families of those hostages still held in captivity, and from the broader Middle East region?
This attack, indeed, unprecedented in terms of the site, not operationally. It's worth remembering that Israel has carried out a number of decapitation strikes against its enemies on the various fronts of this war, this almost two-year-old war. We saw that repeatedly in the Gaza Strip. We saw it in Lebanon with Hezbollah the summer of 2024, and we saw it this summer in Iran. This would not in itself be unusual. What's unusual, as you noted, is the site, Qatar, a U.S. ally, and I think it's fair to say that there's a great deal of indecision in Israel as to what this all means. First of all, because it's not at all clear that this attack was a success on Israel's terms. It may have targeted the leadership of Hamas abroad. It's not clear that it got the people it was meant to get, that the people meant to have been killed were indeed killed. In fact, that's been denied by Hamas. And as you noted, this war is almost 2 years old. 48 hostages remain, 20 of them alive. And there's a great deal of concern that this will distance any prospect of a safe return of those 20 live hostages and a resolution of this war in a manner that many Israelis would consider satisfactory. In fact, some have worried that Hamas may retaliate by executing some of those hostages. Throughout the war, there have been at times threats by Hamas to execute them. So right now, I think the Israelis are waiting to see, A, what indeed were the results of this strike, B, where do things really stand with the United States, whether it really was blindsided by this, or whether a transactional Trump presidency will be happier if it finds out that the strike was a success and contributes to the end of the war. That's the argument that the Prime Minister here, Netanyahu, made last night, that a successful removal of the Hamas leadership would bring a successful end to the war. In fact, peace in Gaza closer. And third of all, what this means for prospects of recovering those hostages alive and well, at least those believed to have survived so far.
In technology news, OpenAI is set to purchase $300 billion in computing power from Oracle over the next 5 years. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Bloomberg's Caroline Hyde reports on the implications of this major investment in artificial intelligence infrastructure.
I think the nice big flashy number of $300 billion is what catches the attention. Look, we knew back in July that this extraordinary 4.5 gigawatt deal between OpenAI and Oracle had been signed. Just to put that in perspective, that's the same amount of energy that's from 2 Hoover dams. That is about 4 million homes. That is an extraordinary amount of compute. No wonder Charlie put it so eloquently about the share price up and to the right, because this sort of order backlog is extraordinary. And Safra Catz herself, when announcing these earnings, said that it had been a totally extraordinary quarter. And this is one of the deals they signed. I think more of the glaringly obvious concern is similar to a CoreWeave, similar to other compute providers. They are very exposed to a few clients. And so Oracle is making up basically, what, $300 billion worth of a $450 billion backlog. That's an awful lot of focus on one particular client. But they do say that they'd won some other multi-billion dollar deals from other cloud compute needers. And this is all about the pivot that Oracle made. This was a data software company. It is now one of the impactful compute providers in the United States. Basically, their growth rate is probably bigger than Google right now. Their backlog is bigger than that of Google's.
So what does this say about spending on AI data centers? you threw out all these numbers at us.
I mean, this is what's propping up the US economy. I mean, just to put it flatly, when you go back to Bloomberg Intelligence's own reporting and analysis, 1 percentage point of GDP growth so far this year is entirely down to the AI crescendo and the need for data center spend and the amount of capital expenditure we're getting from these hyperscalers that need to build data centers, Oracle that needs to build data centers. These are the neo clouds that are coming in as well. All of this just means that we're managing to support an economy that in other ways, other places are feeling strange. You've got a labor market that's falling a little bit low. You've got inflationary pressures. What is supporting this economy? It is data center spend. And I think that is like your key takeaway here. And who are the key beneficiaries? Yes, you've seen significant money going into the startups, such as OpenAI. You've got valuations just eye-crushing in many ways. But then Oracle to now be up 40% on a day when it already added $200 billion worth of market cap running up to these earnings, and now they've added another set of that amount in one day. It's an extraordinary feat that Larry Ellison and his team, Safra Catz, have made.
This Saturday, the Springboks face the All Blacks in Wellington after last week's defeat at Eden Park. Here's Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus speaking at a recent press conference ahead of the game.
Firstly, winning every match is quite important for us, or trying to win or attempt or plan to win every match is the most important thing. Now I think after this weekend, we're going to be eight games into the season. I don't know if I'm 100% right, but it looks like we're still number 2 in the world rankings wise. If I'm correct, I think we're 0.7 or something. I don't know if World Rugby has updated it or not. I just checked. So it looks like we're still number 2 in the world. So, if we get through this game, and we win the game, we will either be number 1 or 2 in the world, I guess. And then it's after 8 games, and then we're halfway through the season. So, the big goal is to build squad depth. And as I said last week, that is introducing youngsters, sometimes with some senior players, introducing the youngsters at different venues, introducing youngsters at other opposition who's really good, number 1 in the world, and their home field, under pressure, with crowd pressure, and then slowly seeing how they develop. A guy like Fassi, this is the next stage for him developing. A guy like Sasha has played against New Zealand last year, but that was at home. Damian Willemse coming back, hasn't played at 12 for a while, getting him back into the mix. So try to balance it whilst winning, because I know the only thing that makes us all happy is winning. But there's a bit of an eye on the future without forgetting the present.
And that brings us to the end of today's BizNews briefing. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on Monday with more context on both the local and global front. Enjoy the weekend and a Saturday's rugby.